Boom, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the place to be. I'm your host, Adam Mill. To the right is Juan Bizzle. To the left, Sikaz the governor. In the middle is Jammer One. Hopefully, I said that right. And then we have Ty, the man that's off the grid. All right, fellas, what's popping? I don't celebrate New Year's. However, I'm glad to see everyone here in 2026 with all their nails and eyes and ears and sense of, you know, clear thought and mind. You know what I'm saying? So that's a blessing within itself. We're breathing. A lot of people did not make it.
Mm.
They're
Right,
resting
right.
in peace. So great to see you guys here in 2026. Let's keep it pushing. Much success to everyone and as a collective. So, what's on the docket, Ty? Oh,
All right.
Skills will be joining us soon. He's running late.
All right. So our first topic is around celebrity commentary and political discourse, and we just use Dave Chappelle's latest Netflix show as a conduit for it. So many entertainers like Dave Chappelle use comedy and then media platforms to weigh on political issues and social issues. Of course, Dave Chappelle is known for confronting hot button topics and when it comes to social and political issues through stand up. And he engages with race, politics, free speech, culture, and oftentimes he tries to deliberately provoke discomfort to force discussion. And he argues that that's one of the last platforms for free discourse, especially in this age.
Mhm.
So I guess initially, how did you guys feel about that special?
I'll go first. Um, some comedians, I won't name their names. They said it wasn't like a comedy special. It was more like a drama. I'm sorry, a drama. Um, I think Dave approached the comedy now. Um, is more, how can I put it? It's unique in a sense, right? Where a lot of artists, excuse me, a lot of comedians, they do have messages behind their humor or satire, right? But Dave choose to put it in a different approach that's very unique and very witty. And if you don't catch on to it, then you're not going to see the humor in it, right?
Right.
Um, what I got from it, um, I'm not an expert in every topic he was talking about, right? But I will say this, um, from his perspective and his beliefs, I think it was on point, especially when he was talking about the law where it was dealing with a boxer transporting um, the white woman across state lines or whatever, and how that uh, you know what's the word I'm looking for? How it relates to Puff. They use the same. What's that man? What's the act that is, girl? Man act. Somebody type it up for me real quick. My apologies. I got to my notes late. It's the same law that Puff got sentenced for, the same law that Jack Johnson got sentenced for back in the day, which is the first heavyweight African American boxing champ.
Okay.
And someone told him one day, they said, why don't you fight black people, get black people shot? He said, I enjoy the money's beating up on white men and dating their women. So Congress made this law, you know, to stop him. That's why the special is called Unstoppable, what, Black Man or something like that?
Right.
And it's based off of Jack Johnson, if I'm getting his name right. He started it off with that, leading up to years later how they got P. Diddy on the same law, on the same, the same crime, right?
Yeah, same charge.
Yeah, same charge. So I found that fascinating. When he was talking about freedom of speech in Saudi Arabia and how he had a falcon and it's the fastest animal on earth and it sworn down and it killed the woman who happened to be in the third row and that woman was a transgender woman and it was a misdemeanor because in Saudi Arabia you can kill you can killing a transgender is a misdemeanor. Rather over here you would be put in jail for life. The fact that he could tell that joke, um, he did the differences. Like this supposed to be the land of the free, free speech, but I'm more contained over here than I was in Saudi Arabia. Um, a lot of people said that he was pandering to the Saudi Arabian government because and I know I'm all over the place, but allegedly their involvement with with Sudan and the slave trade and stuff that's going on over there. And someone said that well, Dave, they killed the reporter over there, right? And Dave said, well, 200 and some odd reporters was killed in Israel. So what are we talking about? So I think that is I think he lacked the double standards, but he made it clear like, are we comparing numbers? Because we comparing numbers, then it's a whole different topic, right? But I think, in my opinion, I have my views about um, the Saudi Arabian government and what they're doing. I don't think no government right now has clean hands. I think that everyone, to a certain degree, is linked to some type of corruption, right? Um, but we're more so pointing a finger at our own government because I guess we have a certain leader that's in power that's just not hiding anything. He's just bluntly telling you this is what it is, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I'm gonna do it. And there's nothing you can do about it. Well, other leaders, they cover it up and try to make it sweet for you. But I think that every government on earth, some more corrupt than others, um, have some type of corruption in it. And I think that was the backlash with people in Dave's performance. They were saying, okay, you're pandering to Saudi Arabia, but you're downplaying your own country. And I think there's a lot of politics behind it as well too. Dave being a Muslim and so forth, and it could be looked at as one-sided in a way, but he did have some strong points about the American government, freedom of speech now, and how MAGA is now like putting a stronghold on freedom of speech. And, you can say this, but you better not say anything about MAGA. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna let you guys cook. I'll come back with, more thoughts on it is my thoughts, Gab. But that's what I can think of real quick. And
Challenge.
he was saying something about John McCain, am I right? The Stevie Wonder clip. Anybody remember that? When he was like, uh, tell Stevie told Dave, John McCain's right? What's the guy who passed away? John McCain, he's still alive?
No.
Okay, that's the one he went to his funeral.
Talking about Charlie Kirk?
The one who
Yeah,
um
president against Obama. I mean, Obama ran it. Yeah,
yeah, that's the one who ran against Obama, right?
yeah,
He passed away. That's the one who didn't advocate for Dr. Martin Luther King to have a day.
no,
Everyone voted that he should have a day in Congress but him, right? And somehow later on down the road, Roosters came back to roost. And because that song, Happy Birthday by Stevie Wonder, was dedicated to Martin Luther King. So John McCain, right? That's his name. He was like, nah, I don't think Martin should have a day. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
um, the irony of it is he ran against the first black candidate for well, the first successful person who became president and Barack Obama when the black vote was because of the time that he did not vote for Dr. King to have a birthday or day. I mean, I'm sorry, to have a day named after him, as far as Martin Luther King's birthday. So the Roosters came back to roost. So a lot of I know I'm skipping over a lot of things, but a lot of it was a lot of key points in Dave Chappelle's performance, and it was masterfully. It was very masterful. I'm sorry. I give it an 8 out of 10. I know I had some controversy about transgenders and stuff like that. Other than that, I give it a 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So
Anybody else?
I didn't really see it because I don't have Netflix. I have to go over somebody's house and mooch off of their Netflix. So I apologize for being ill prepared. Um, yeah. So I gotta pass the mic.
Same situation, same situation. But I
oh
will
god,
say, no, I don't got Netflix because they kept charging me.
yeah,
Actually, they kept double charging me
yeah.
every month for months and months.
I feel you. I went
Right.
on YouTube. I actually got the bootleg on YouTube. Right.
Well, yeah,
I
but
had
that was cut up, so I ain't even, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but it was good though. Know why? Because they was cutting up the key points that they wanted people to pay attention to. You
And
get what
that's
I'm
why,
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I listen to it. I have Netflix, but the fact that every time I wanted to play it, my wife was around, and she's very sensitive, and she should be, far as with cursing and carrying on, because his shows are very rated R, so
yeah,
she's very sensitive to that. So I say, all right, let me go on YouTube, and I said, boom. And then I was kind of upset because there was a lot of things being cut. But then I realized, I said, oh, okay, this person wants you to listen to the key points of the show, which helped me out because I had to really do no digging. You get what I'm saying? My thing
that's
was
true.
what made me kind of not prepared as I wanted to be is that I couldn't get timelines and names right. You get what I'm saying? But other than that, I kind of got the gist of the whole performance, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I give it an 8 out of 10. I can see why people didn't like it, and I can see why people did love it. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of side with both sides on this.
You know who his comedy reminds me of? He's like the modern Dick Gregory.
Yeah, he is with a little bit of Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
With a little bit of Richard Pryor.
So I I think it's okay if some haven't seen it because I mean we've all seen different comedy specials and entertainers that act as de facto, you know, public intellectuals or engage in civic and public matters and give their opinion. I mean, let's say this, throwing this out is I think one thing you have to caution, like especially with Chappelle, it's easy because it's sometimes easy to be tricked into very like Chappelle first of all is brilliant, and I do like the way he delivers and makes you think about things. Like laughter oftentimes disarms you and can make you laugh at and think through serious matters and but it's critical because some entertainers may act as de facto public intellectuals without the demands of democratic reasoning and or the rigor of reasoning and people unsuspecting people can pray can fall prey to it. So comedy rewards emotional resonance and laughter and not really evidence. It doesn't demand evidence. So someone can say something and may be satirical and may make you think for a second, but it doesn't demand that you really dig into the evidence. You know what I mean? So the joke may feel true, but it crowds out facts that aren't true. So when you have a person talking about, like, let's go back to Dave Chappelle talking about how he was able to talk in Saudi Arabia freely versus here. Is there one thing that isn't fleshed out is that, one, we live in a society where there's many different in this society there's many different religions and lifestyles and all of that. Their government is theocratic rule, and they 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 are very strict with that thing. With the interpretations of gender roles and things like that. So it makes sense why you could go over in Saudi Arabia and make such a claim. Whereas here, we're much more loose, much more, less strict with our understanding of gender. So it basically what I'm saying is sometimes comedians and entertainers may compress very complex civic issues down into narratives that kind of that make you laugh, they don't make you think. It laughs, but the understanding is lacks. It walks out the back door.
It depends on the individual. I get you. I think it depends on the individual. It's like some people say this country is falling into a dictatorship, right? Indirectly. Well, directly, it's falling into a dictatorship slowly but surely. When you're dealing with the far right, right? And it's, I know we're jumping the gun, but let's take the Charlie Kirk situation, right? People were being fined and hunted down and threatened for talking about Charlie Kirk. That's not the America that I remember. You know what I'm saying? The America I remember is that literally freedom of speech. Now, of course, with freedom of speech, it comes with a price, meaning that, you give your freedom of speech skills.
Yo, peace to the gods and earth. What's
What's
going on?
going on?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. We talking about the Dave Chappelle
Um,
thing. Um, Freedom of speech come with a cause. You get what I'm saying? But the difference with this country from then and now, you could get, I won't say get away with, but they allowed you to take that risk. Now they're not allowing you to take that risk. They're telling you directly, like, if you speak on this person, you speak on this person, his or hers, rather satire or otherwise, you can suffer the consequences for it.
right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that
I don't disagree with you. What I'm just saying is that laughter and entertainment can sometimes short circuit skepticism, the natural skepticism that we should have to anybody's ideas. And when people are popular and charismatic, like someone like Chappelle, and as successful, your defenses, your intellectual defenses
Right.
are disarmed, and they may be creating these theories about free speech that are much more complicated than they actually are. I'm not disagreeing that free speech has been constricted in the current political climate in this environment, and but I'm saying that we have to be careful that we don't lower our. We're just not accepting arguments without thinking, and that's why I say it I love that when people like Chappelle and other entertainers get up and use their platform to speak, but they have to be careful that they're not, because they're not public intellectuals, they're not professors, they're not people who have done deep seated research, you know what I mean? And what they say can masquerade as the truth, but it's not, and that can mislead people, and that's what I'm saying.
So are you saying that Dave Chappelle, I don't mean to cut your wisdom, Lord, pardon me,
Oh, you go, you
I
go.
don't know, but are you trying to say that Dave Chappelle needs to do better fact checking?
Not necessarily Dave Chappelle should do better fact checking, but it's more so it's the crowd itself is that you should be don't let your laughter, the laughter and the entertainment that you get from it, short circuit your own criticism, your own natural defenses. Because it's easy when you're having a good time, you've been entertained. Somebody says something that seems like a half truth, or it appears on the surface like a truth, like saying, like going back to what I was saying earlier, that in Saudi Arabia, you can freely make transgender jokes, and here you can't. And I'm not saying that there isn't a constriction in our free speech here, but those are two different societies. It quite naturally makes sense why you can make transgender jokes over in a strict country like where they don't believe in gay anything or transgender rights anything. So that's definitely gonna go over well with them. To compare, you need to make sure you're comparing apples to oranges. You know what I mean? Because to say, like he mentioned, Shogi, what's the guy from
The journal.
Some of the
yeah.
journalist
So,
that was killed.
yeah, the journalist was killed, right? Free speech isn't as free as you think over there. You get what I'm saying? Because that brother was killed for speaking up. But yes, so if you're not careful, you play into Saudi Arabia's talking points and you prop them up and you make them seem like a leader for free speech when in actuality they may not be, and we may actually in some sense be a little bit better. Not saying that we haven't been, because we have
I
in the
mean, America has shot people down and deported people and done heinous things to people for free speech also. You know what I mean? America very much
hey,
so has been on a last king of Scotland. I can promise you freedom of speech, but I can't promise you freedom after speech. If anything, I think this goes back to Brother Malcolm when he said that entertainers should not be seen as our leaders. And if an entertainer, just because somebody is funny, doesn't make them a political
right,
expert. And I agree
right,
with you on that end, but it's up to us to be smart enough. It's like a person reading Wikipedia and then trying to use that as a source, not to say, and then Dave Chappelle is smarter or more keen than the average person that's writing on Wikipedia. But I'm saying we have to take into account who is saying this and why are they saying it. Very clearly, it's a joke to say that there's more free speech over there than it is here. But when it comes from the perspective of somebody that may have money, but regardless how much money that man has, he is still reminded that he's a minority, which is why he cracked the joke about there's no word that can describe what he's doing as far as the reverse gentrification or word or phrase to describe what he's doing in his town that he lives in Ohio, right? But at the end of the day, there's ways that we are reminded of who we are and where we are in the whole context of the country, right? But I just say that it's up to the listener to be smart enough to understand I should not be taking this for more than what it is. It is a joke. He is joking. He is paid to make jokes. Now, all good jokes contain realness and truth to a certain matter, right? But I need to understand that his main goal is to make me laugh, and he is not hired to educate me. So I shouldn't listen to him as if he is Neil deGrasse Tyson or Mark Lamont Hill. You get what I'm saying?
of
So
course,
yes, we're going to listen to him, and we should listen to him. And I think that he made a lot of great points. But when it comes to stuff like that, it's like we need to be able to differentiate between when he's keeping it real and when he's making it like when he's being serious, when he's not being serious. I think that he suffers from and not from the same level as Richard Pryor, but Richard Pryor was at one point in time seen as the funniest person alive, right? But
right,
when it
right,
comes to being the funniest person alive, sometimes people don't take you serious because of how much you made them laugh, right? And that in
right,
itself is a double-edged sword. So I just think that it's up to us as the consumer to be smart enough to decipher what we should take as comedy and what we should take as a lesson. You get what I'm saying? Like I think that we should
right.
take the what's the boxer's name?
Jack Johnson.
We should take the lesson about Jack Johnson and how that relates to what happened with Diddy, that should be taken as a serious lesson. But as far
Yes,
as
the man act, right?
Right.
let me
yes, the
ask you.
Mann
And the,
Act,
and the thing about that with the Mann Act is more than Jack Johnson. You look at
right?
the you got Mac, you got Jack Johnson, who else you got? Fred Tony,
I
professional
think that they
baseball player,
got
1918. Frank Lloyd Wright,
what's
tennis,
the
who
what's his
else?
name? Chuck. What's his name? Right? He was a
Chuck
he was a
Berry.
singer. Chuck Berry.
Yeah,
Thank
Chuck
you.
Berry. They got him on that too.
Oh, what Chuck Berry we talking about?
The rock and roll.
The one that was a
Okay,
singer. That, you know what I
Yeah, like
mean?
Godfather. He
okay.
like the one that really started took it to that.
Skills.
All these people were black, right?
The majority one. Yeah, same thing they got.
Chuck Berry was black, but there's discrepancies about what he went as in order to play in different venues. But he
Yeah.
was black. But he would
Who
sometimes pass for other things to perform at
who
different
was play,
venues, from my
did
understanding.
did Most Def play that role
Yes,
of
he
him?
played him in Cadillac Records. Yes.
Exactly. I kind of figured that.
Skills.
Real
Let me
quick, you
ask
were
you
saying
something.
something, Ty. What you were saying? I'm sorry.
I was going to ask. So I hear you. But I want to say this: comedy is does do different work than journalism or activism, right? But my question to you is, given that Chappelle is speaking on politics, does that shift the context? Words have consequences, and when you have a platform like that, you have a moral responsibility to guard what you're saying. It's just not on the listener itself. Yes, the listener should do some serious deliberation to make sure that they're not just um um uh that they need to discriminate against the ideas that are coming out of people's mouth. You know what I mean? But
So we
does
are
that shift the context?
but we are in America, and it's not just Americans that have seen this, but we are telling people like the same way with rap music, right? Where people are being discouraged to make three verse songs, right? Because people have a different type of attention span. Are we saying that these are the same people that we're telling to judge comedy differently and in a more serious light? Like I'm sorry, I just don't understand. Like I get what you're saying that Dave Chappelle, but it's not his job to make sure that people interpret it correctly. It's his
If you're speaking
job
on
to make the
politics, you
art.
are.
No, because just we can spin anything. If I say Black Lives Matter, I'm not
Mhm.
saying only Black Lives Matter, but you could spin it and say that I said that, but that's not what I said. Black lives aren't mattering to the point where I have to say Black Lives Matter. You get what I'm saying? And that's why I have to say Black Lives Matter. But I didn't say that white lives don't matter, that any other lives don't matter. I said Black Lives Matter because we are being shown repeatedly and habitually, especially in the Western world, that people that are in power mess with animals more than us.
Right, right.
Especially when you got a yellow sentiment, especially when people don't understand the fundamental laws of humanity. Humanity lives matter, but they're not playing that type of game. They've been selective on who lives matter more than others. And that plays into politics and also racism as well.
Right, but I'm saying, but Dave Chappelle, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But Dave Chappelle only has a certain amount of time. I think that yes, he should be responsible with his voice, but people not being able to discern what should be taken as factual and what should be taken as a joke is not his responsibility. It is not his fault that they're not able to make those decisions,
Well,
that they're
when
not
when
able to differentiate between the two. That's not his fault.
but when your commentary on politics, on things that affect everybody, everyday people, right, reinforce biases, right, and your platform amplifies it because you have that reach, right? Don't you? Doesn't that matter?
Yeah, but
Which bias exactly are you talking about that you feel that he's proliferating?
I'm just saying. Let me step back and make it a little bit more general. It doesn't have to be Chappelle for I'm not saying that I disagree with anything or saw I'm saying that Chappelle did anything to amplify bias, but I'm saying for an entertainer, for a comedian to speak on politics, right? There's a risk that their commentary may be, it may lack nuance. It may lack the factual understanding. It may not be rigorous enough for them because they're acting as de facto public intellectuals, but they're not. And in that doing, they can enforce certain stereotypes and biases, and their platform amplifies that because of the reach. It's one thing if Dave Chappelle, for instance, is telling jokes in a barbershop, right? And he's just telling, and making the fellas laugh and so on and so forth, right? It's another thing when he's telling political jokes that reaches millions and millions of people. You have to be careful about what you say because even if you don't want to, even if you want to say, I'm just a comedian, that has
Now look at it. He's stuck in a rock and a hard place, right? Okay. On one side, the same people will complain and say, won't you speak on relevant topics? Won't you speak on things that matter? Won't you speak on, like they told LeBron a few years ago, shut up and dribble, right? When he's telling you to himself, he's much more than that. And I think that is a disservice to people when their profession may not be politics. It may not be something scholarly or some type of college, and you're limiting their mindset. Like, who are you to talk about this? I get it. A doctor should be a doctor, and the person who's mopping the floor, he should stick to mopping the floor. But however, do not take for granted that that person mopping the floor may know a little bit more, know just as much as that doctor. He doesn't have a degree. So I don't like the fact that you're limited. I'm not saying you. I don't like the fact that people limit their minds and space. You say you don't have the right to speak in a space. Yes, you do. You do have the right to speak in a space. Now, at the same time, you should be open to criticism. Like when people say, "Oh man, you got this wrong," or you should research this, or that didn't fit. Then he should humble himself because he knows he's not an expert in that space. He's going to assume he should do his research and recant. Like, well, I said this, I was wrong in that, and not to please the crowd. Because sometimes some things you just got to stick with. If a person say, "I don't believe in a certain belief," it's what I'm sticking to, and this is my evidence, this is my proof is why I don't do it. And I'm not going to change my views on it. Matter of fact, just because you did it, I'm going to double down respectfully.
And I have a question. What is the problem? Him speaking like he's still in the barbershop is how he got to where he's at,
right,
right?
right.
So is he supposed to make his material more palatable because of the reach that he has now?
No, I don't think you should. I don't think you should because unless he's working for a political party, then they have to control the strength, and yeah, he got to do what they say. But as long as he's speaking independently of his mind, I think he's good for doing that. And then yeah, like Adam L just said, if he's called a task on something, it's on him to have to turn around and then research better and then say
Right.
he's gonna, determine, all right, this is really why I said blah blah blah, double down on it, or yeah, you right, give him that point back because there's times when people would have to come back and apologize if they went too far on something. But I think it's on the public, like for real, honestly, it's like it really is on the public to be able to discern what's going on. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to get it from the comedians are going to basically spell everything out for you. You're going there for laughs. You know what I mean? Of course, they're going to throw some truth in there. And they also just highlighting what we just commonly seeing about in our regular everyday life. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with all the other factions. Because think about this. We also look at a lot of the news anchors and such whenever they giving us the news, and we're looking at them like quote unquote experts, when in reality they aren't. You know what I mean? So we're taking a lot of the things that they're saying is solid gold truth, and we're believing it, and that's also shaping a lot of our opinions. So we also need the same rigor that we going to throw Dave Chappelle and other comedians material through. We should also do the same thing with a lot of these sports not the sports, them too, but also the rest of these newscasters as well.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
Well, anybody go ahead, Tom. I'll let you cook.
yeah, and that's what I mean, I think Gov pretty much answered the way I probably would approach that. But I don't think like it's like a question of whether he's right or wrong or whether he should, change up his approach that, let's say, if we use a barbershop analogy, right? I don't think so. But it's just a matter of like engaging with his work with integrity and acknowledging the harm. Sometimes that no matter if it was intended or not, we should be able to, the public himself should be able to acknowledge harm without erasing the value of his stand up, because sometimes critiques are very valid and they should stand. We shouldn't silence people because of their critiques. I don't think that's is something like so. But my main thing is you can't let my main concern is allowing spectacle and morality to replace actual analysis and fact checking and deliberation and stuff like that. And that's what people, when Chappelle moved from, let's say, the barbershop to the main stage where he's reaching 7 billion people. Not saying that's an actual number; it's probably a lot lower than that. But we have to ask those questions. I'm not saying you change his record or change his words or he can't say it. We just have to be and it's more so on us. We have to be critical that we're not replacing actual analysis.
Sometimes somebody political or religious or whatever beliefs they have could be detrimental to society, certain groups. I get it. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I'll end it with this. I think this will probably be for another day, another time. Like, should it be comedy based on other people's pain?
You know what? I was gonna say that art and great art in general, it demands attention and it creates conversation. And I think we living in a time where we have cancel culture and people are kind of like attacking people's creativity. We seen them do that with Tyler the Creator, like what was it, like a month and a half ago or so, when
Facts.
when he was checking his fan base for not knowing who D'Angelo was. So they started digging up his old stuff and talking about, just started trying to come at him because his old content. But the point being, art does that. You know what I mean? You know, it should make you feel emotions. It should make people question certain things. If it's not really doing that, then, is it really art?
The volcano from out of Iceland, they come to take over the rap game like the white man. Hiller than Hitler, photobomb at Yahoo, read it bomb missile. Watch me do it like the Pointer Sisters. Slip arsenic in your corn liquor. Two bigger L's than the Aubrey nigga. From Pappy Mason to Pastor Mason, the church is vacant. I'm preaching with Bobby, trapped in the basement. I'm laughing, just imagine the Sleepy Beauty had herpes.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the place to be. I'm your host, Adam Mill. To the right of me is Quan Bizzle. To the left of me, because the governor. In the middle is Jambo 1. Hope I